Today we're going to be talking about layering a design like this from start to finish, what materials you need to get started, and how you can make this on your own without being overwhelmed and stressed out about layering a project, because I know it can be difficult, but I promise if you stick around, I'm going to show you the step-by-step so that you too can do this design. First and foremost, what you're going to need is your Cricut, whether it's a Cricut Explore Air 2, a 3, a 4, a Maker, or any cutting device. This is going to be what you want to use to get started with your layering project. Next, you're going to need a cutting mat. So this one's a little bit dirty, so I apologize about that, but that is just the world of crafting, and I probably should clean it, but here we go. So you're going to need one of those. So you're going to need your vinyl. You can see that there's some cuts here, and that's because I'm using some scrap pieces. You don't have to use brand new vinyl every single time you start a project. So I'm going to go ahead and put my scraps of vinyl right there. You're also going to need some tools. I'm going to use scissors and a weeding tweezer tool for this specific project, but you can use a standard weeding tool if you would prefer that. You're going to need some type of squeegee. If you don't have something like this, you can use a credit card, some household appliances that just have that strong little edge, but I would highly recommend getting something like this. You can even find these at the Dollar Tree. When you're layering, you're going to need some parchment paper. I know it sounds weird, but promise it is one of the best hacks that I've ever found when doing your layering, so we're going to use that. Next, we're going to need some transfer tape. If you can see a trend here, we are using another piece of scrap. This was left over from a different project, but it is more than enough what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this piece of scrap and use it for the project. And then you will just need your Cricut Design Space, whether you're using a phone or a desktop. You are going to need access to the software itself. I'm going to show you how we use the software. This is going to be a version on the desktop, but if you would like to see a mobile version, I can do that as well. So this is what it looks like, and if you need help downloading Cricut Design Space, make sure to let me know so I can go through step by step on what that looks like as well. Now that we have all the materials we need to get started, let's go ahead and start the step-by-step process on making your vinyl. So I have both of my designs in Cricut Design Space right now, and I want to kind of show you the difference between an SVG and a PNG. So this PNG is a flattened image. You can see I can resize it and move it around, but there's not layers to it. So when I go and I create it, you can see that it's going to go ahead and want to get sent to my printer versus the layers that are on my SVG. So an SVG is what you need when you're going to be doing layering. If you're going to be doing a print then cut, which would be like stickers, or you're printing something onto a direct vinyl to a heat transfer for your shirt, that's where you would be doing that. For this specific instance, we want an SVG. So you'll see here that I have different layers. Everything looks the same, however, they're all separated by the color in which I'm going to be cutting those on my mats. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide this one because this is the one I want to make. I do want to resize this, so I'm just showing you by putting these things back. It's not perfect because I don't want it to be 7 by 7, so I'm going to make it about 4 inches. That should be good. And then I'm going to go ahead and make it. I'm going to choose any material on my 12 by 12, confirm, and all of my different designs are ready to go on the different mats. So I'm going to start with the black. I'm going to press continue. So once that's ready to go, I'm going to select the vinyl I'm using. For this specific instance, I'm going to use premium vinyl. And then now I'm going to load my mat so I can get it ready to design. Even though my image called for black, like you guys saw earlier, I'm using that gray that was left over. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and then I'm going to load my mat. So since I have the Cricut Explore Air 4, I guess the Cricut 4. It's gonna go ahead and scan that mat to make sure that it's actually the size in which I told it was. And now from here, it's ready to cut. You see that blinking light right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and press play. Right now I'm gonna unload the mat with that blinking light. It kind of directs you what to do next. I'm gonna take this one off, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab my next color. Again, you saw that I was kind of using this yellowish orange, so I'm gonna go ahead and place that on my mat. However, I need to select my vinyl, so you see that I'm selecting premium removable vinyl again because I'm using the exact same product. Blinking light indicates what I need to do next, so I'm gonna load my mat. It's gonna scan it. Now that my Cricut's ready, it has this little play button, exact same thing. Now that I'm done here, I'm gonna unload. I'm gonna take this one off. And then you'll see that it's prompting me to do the dark pink, and I'll do that exact same process. So you see I selected the premium vinyl again, and then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab my vinyl, place it on my mat, again using the same product. I like to use scrap so I don't waste. I'm gonna load my mat. Gonna get started on my layer 3 right now. I'm gonna unload my mat. Same process, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. And then you'll see that I'm gonna select the exact same thing, just like I did steps 1 through 3. And for the last time, I'm gonna add my vinyl, just like I did previously. And then I'm gonna go ahead, load my mat. And then I'm gonna start my 4th layer. Final layer's done, so I'm gonna unload that. I'm gonna take that off my mat. I now have all 4 layers, and now we're gonna move on to the next step. Now I have my 4 different layers, but what I like to do is I like to grab those scissors and I like to cut around the design so that I'm not wasting the rest of the vinyl. So I'm gonna go ahead, and you can kind of see the design, and if you need another trick, I actually have another hack we can talk about. So I've got my first layer here. This is done. I'm gonna move that off this side. I'm gonna do the same thing with these because you don't want to weed out the entire project and then end up weeding everything else and losing all of that vinyl. Sometimes you gotta look, and you have to kind of look into the light. You're gonna have to look into the light to make sure that you're not cutting out some of your design. And then this last one's gonna be a little bit bigger. But I'm actually gonna cut through because this is gonna be a perfect size right here for something else as just a mini piece of scrap. So now that I have my 4 pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and weed that out. I specifically like using the tweezers like I showed you before. You can kind of use whatever you like, but I kind of want to show you. This is how your vinyl should peel. If it's not peeling that easy, then you've done something wrong and you're using the wrong settings. So I've got my trash right there. I have that first one. I'm gonna go ahead and get the second one. You always wanna do the most outer layer if you're weeding in. We're gonna do the next one. You'll see how easily this just peels back. And that's exactly what we're looking for when it comes to these designs. Just making sure I'm weeding the negative space. Making sure I'm not missing anything. That's why I like these, because I'm able to kind of, again, like tweezers, pick up those pieces if I'm missing it. So I now have 3 of my 4. Now we're gonna do this last one. This little guy didn't wanna come, so. Okay, so once I kind of got that, all of those pieces are right there. So now I have all 4 of my designs. Now, when it comes to layering, you wanna make sure you have these in the right order before you just start peeling and sticking and doing everything. This one's not too bad because everything can still be seen. But if I were to have a layer that, say this was supposed to go here, but this was supposed to go on top of this, and I accidentally started with this layer, I've now ruined my project. So you wanna make sure you have it in the layering order that you plan on actually layering. So for purposes of teaching, I'm gonna go ahead and put this. This is gonna be my very base. I'm then gonna do this layer. I'm then gonna put this layer, and then I'm gonna do that layer. So now that I have all of my pieces lined up, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the actual layering process. So for the next part, you're gonna need your parchment paper and your transfer tape, as well as your scraping tool. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with that top layer. So I'm gonna grab my transfer tape. I'm just gonna move these out of the way for the purpose of showing. And so I'm gonna go ahead, start with the yesterday. You're gonna just squeegee this a couple times. And then when you pull it back, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it back that way. If it gets stuck like that, you can either grab your squeegee again, or you can just push down with your finger. Sometimes if you don't do it enough, it'll do that. And then you'll grab your transfer tape, and this is where I'm going to go, and I'm going to place it at the top like this. And then I've got to figure out, okay, so it doesn't go that way, but it does go down here. So I can move this around and it doesn't stick. Once I figure out where that's gonna go, I think this right here is perfect. I'm going to just push that down, top layer, and then I'm gonna peel this up. I'm gonna take that away, and then I'm going to layer like so. Once I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna peel this back because I'm gonna use this exact same piece of transfer tape for my next part. I'm then going to grab this one, the Be Braver Than, and then I'm gonna do that same process. I'm gonna squeegee, pick it up, peel back. I'm going to grab my parchment paper, put this at the top so that I can move things around. And again, like so, figuring out where this is meant to be. And I feel like right there is about good. Now I could line this up probably more perfectly, but again, kind of for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna go ahead, squeegee, and now we just have one more layer that we need to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel this piece back one more time. Then once I have that, I'm gonna do that same process for the last time. Squeegee, squeegee, and you can use both sides of this. Yours might look a little bit different. They all do the same thing. If you don't have a squeegee, you can use a credit card. Just don't press too hard because you could break it. And then I'm gonna do that same process. Thankfully, this little lightning bolt can kind of show me initially where I need to go. And I'm pretty sure it was up against this. Just like that, it was just on the edge. If you look back to the reference photo, it's kind of where it is. Peel that back. Same thing. And just like that, I've finished that design. Everything is perfectly lined up. It's where it needs to be. You don't have any bubbles in here. And I was only able to use one piece of transfer tape, so I didn't waste anything when it came to that. And this is what it looks like. So Super easy, a lot more simple than I think people think layering is. I think people put it to a task that it's super hard and difficult, and there's a lot of steps to it, and I get that. But hopefully this made this a little bit easier in the layering process. If you're curious about something a little more complex in making something like that, let me know in the comments. Make sure you follow along and subscribe, and we will continue to make projects like this as we go on throughout the year.